to and took and okie dokie. So they're just some different things that I've, done. And some of these are on sellers, but I want to start talking about buyers first. Who just popped in?
Grace.
Hello. If you have any questions at all, please, unmute yourself and speak up. So the first thing is, I've kind of been talking with a couple of you guys about this. Because we have limited inventory, you need to check the for sale by owner every day. If you're looking for stuff for your clients, don't let them, because they're checking for sale by owner. So don't let them get ahead of you, and go and purchase something. Because, one of the agents came up and she was upset. She's like, my client ended up getting a for sale by owner, but if you don't send them to them and offer to take them out there, then, it really isn't a fault of theirs. It's a fault of yours. So make sure that you check it daily. Is there anyone on here that doesn't know how to go into it and check it? I don't think we've got seasoned agents on here right now. Let me reach out to Tabitha real quick as she was coming on. I wanted her on it.
She's on here.
She is. Well, where are you? I think I just can't see everybody. So the for sale by owner is very important. Oh, there you are. And, you just need to get in there. And if you just Google for sale by owner, they'll come up. But it's really embarrassing when they find one and you never sent it to them. And trust me, it's happened to me before. So when you call a lead, if you get a lead that comes in, or someone reaches out to you on your social media and they inquire on a house that's pending. Okay. We all know that 90% of the time, every time somebody reaches out, the house is pending. It seems like it's just the norm these days. Do not text anyone back and say the house has been sold. Because the minute you text them back and you say the house has been sold, you will never hear from them again. I'm not telling you to lie to them, but you've got to, pick up the phone and try to reach them. And then you tell them, that you're sorry that the house has recently gone pending. And that gives you the opportunity to open up that line of communication about what they're looking for. Typically, the first thing out of their mouth is, oh, I just wanted that one house. Well, that is not true. They don't just want that one house. Who just came in? I just want to say hello. Hi, Joelle. Nice to see you. And so, they're going to say it's just that one house. But if you just start seeking to understand, you're going to be able to help and communicate with them a little bit better. You can tell them, that if they're on Zillow or Realtor.com or one of these sites, that there is a lag time between when they get them and see them compared to when we do. So offer to put them on auto prospecting. It's not a huge lag time anymore, but still offer to put them on auto prospecting. It's in the MLS, whether you're in RVAR or you're in the Danville or you're in LAR or whichever you're in, Farmville. They will have a system in there to put them on auto prospecting. And Shalaya, the Command has it too, correct?
It's similar, but I still think the MLS one works a little better.
Yeah, it's faster and works better. I wish we could figure out the Command one, because there's so many different MLSs that you have to learn how to do it when you belong to multiple, and it gets confusing. But if you don't know how to set somebody up in auto prospecting, just reach out, because Tracy Grant, she has a cheat sheet that she can send you, and it makes it a lot easier. So when you put in their auto prospecting, you have to ask them the questions. What are you looking for? What area are you looking for? Is it a certain school district? Be careful, don't step over your boundaries. How many bedrooms? And, there's so many different things. And of course, I never ask their price point till the end, because I don't know why, but if you ask them what price point they're looking at first, they start getting weird on you. So just start communicating with them before you get to price. If they tell you that they have to have a 4-bedroom house, You still need to look up 3 bedrooms and explain to them that sometimes there could be an extra room someplace that could be used as a 4th bedroom. So always ask them why they need 4 bedrooms, because sometimes it's just for an office or for guests. And you don't want, and this is what happens too. These people, these buyers will tell you what they have to have, and then you won't send them other things. And then they're going to go out and buy the other thing you didn't send them. So always remember to give them more than less. But explain to them before you send this stuff out that it's hard for you to narrow it down too much without losing some things. So they might get some properties that they're not interested in. But the easiest part is when they have a school district, because then that narrows it down for you. Does anyone have any questions as far as when you have had these situations come up? Hi, Kathy. How are you? Does anyone have any questions on when these situations have come up that you'd like to chat about, as far as like, overcoming objections or things that you've said and done in situations?
So Teresa,
Uh-huh.
on my other team, what
Mhm.
they tell us to do if somebody is looking for a particular property that's already under contract, we don't ever tell them that it's under contract. We talk to them about what other kind of properties that they want to look at. And then we tell them we're going to, rather than just seeing this one house, we'll try to get a few properties for them. And then once you get them to say, yes, that sounds great, then you line up your other properties, and then you can go back and say, oh, and by the way, this one's already pending, but now you have them committed to the other properties.
Yes.
That's one way around it. Just don't tell them that it's pending, because like you said, you'll lose them.
You will. Yes. Great point. Sometimes they get really hasty and they just, keep asking. The funny thing is sometimes they see it pending and they still ask, but you're exactly right. Christine, you want to tiptoe around that. You don't want to lie to people or mislead them, but the minute you give them that answer, they are done. They will shut you down and they're gone. So no, that's a great suggestion, is just, let them know that you have other things. And I've got this further down in here about how to engage them further, into letting you, pull up other inventory for them. It's a little harder right now just because there isn't inventory. The other thing is that set yourself apart and tell them that you will find them inventory. So the easy thing for an agent is to go into MLS, you pull stuff up and you're like, just like every other realtor, you're not valuable at all. I mean, you don't have any extra value system. Go out and find them a house. And the beautiful thing is about this market that we're in, if that house in that neighborhood is pending, probably in that neighborhood, somebody has built 50% of the houses in there are probably Cape Cods. If they're calling on that Cape Cod and you go into a certain era of homes, the whole neighborhood's going to be the same house. This is your opportunity to knock on doors, put your card on doors, let them know that you have somebody interested in that neighborhood. And that the house just, went under contract. It was priced at this amount. So that makes you the neighborhood expert, but it also gives you value. And, in real estate, it's kind of that 80-20 thing, rule. And you want to be in that 20%, and you have to go over and above the call of duty. If you just do what everybody else is doing, it's not going to set you apart and bring you to that top 20%. And it's a lot easier to go into a neighborhood that a house just sold in and you have a buyer for and knock on a door than in a market that's saturated with houses and you're knocking on doors and nobody wants to talk to you. So it is a big difference if you have a reason to call in.
Teresa, in that situation, when you're knocking on doors, what kind of script do you use typically? I know we say we have a buyer, but how are we going to try to get in the house?
Yeah. So when I do it, and a lot of times I'll do it around my open houses. So when I do it, I always print out a flyer of the house that just sold. So you have something in your hand, to hand them. And so when you knock on the door, just hand them, when they open it, just say, hi, my name is Teresa Grant with the Realty Group team of Keller Williams. That's what I say. And, do you have just a minute? Because, you always want to ask, do you have a minute? So you're courteous. Even if they say, well, we're really busy, just say, I understand you're busy. I'll get to the point. Hand them the flyer or the MLS sheet. The MLS sheet needs to have your information on it. Do not print the listing agent's information on this MLS sheet. So make sure that you're at the bottom of it. And just say that, I've had a couple of buyers call on this house that has gone under contract, and I'm looking to find my buyers a home. The first thing the seller thinks of is, wow, this person is really aggressive. I mean, who would you want to be selling your home? Somebody that's aggressive. You don't want somebody that doesn't do anything. So it doesn't have to be your listing. Once that thing is sold, you can go in there and you can start targeting that neighborhood. So if you're a newer agent, it does not matter. You could always go into a neighborhood. It's the simplest thing in the world. And guess what? Very few people are doing it. But once you do that, then you just ask, have you considered selling your home, or have you talked to any of your neighbors who might be interested in selling in the near future? So this is the best way to do it. So when that buyer that has called, that now knows that their house is pending that they wanted, they're deflated. But once you go in and you tell them you're going to do this for them, it does make a huge difference. I went out a couple months ago into, a townhome community because my lady missed out on one, and door knocked, and it was a great opportunity to meet the neighborhood. You can get listings that way, but don't be afraid, because inactivity is going to create nothing for you. And I say this, on all of my classes, you have to find a way to fill your calendar. So if you get up in the morning and your calendar is empty for the day, it's your responsibility to figure out how to fill it. You do not have to fill it with people you're showing houses to if you're just starting. The best way to do it is to get out there and start previewing homes, because if someone does call you and you've been looking at other homes, at least you're educated. Or pick a neighborhood and get out there and take a look and do some previews. Because you definitely want to be the knowledge agent. You don't want to be the one that has to look up the MLS the whole time you're on the phone with them because you've never seen the inventory. So the next thing is, when you call a prospect or a lead, the questions to ask a potential buyer. There are certain things that you want to say to them when you make that phone call. And if you don't ask these questions, you're not going to show value. I have spoken with more people that have called randomly, and some of them have their own agent too. And I don't try to hurt them, their other agent. But when we hang up, my normal thing that I hear is, wow, you just told me more than my agent has ever told me. You just inquired and cared about what my life is like. You're not digging. Some people are afraid to dig, but you're not digging for yourself. You're digging to help them. And if you keep that in your mind, that's what you're doing. Oh, who's got the baby puppy? He's a big giant baby puppy. So, I know, cute. So
she's my lap dog. Sorry. I can't be without her. She just comes to me all the time.
So here is one that I have that says, hi, this is Teresa Grant with Keller Williams Realty. Is now a good time to talk regarding your inquiry on 123 Lake Vista Drive? And then wait for them to answer. And sometimes they'll be like, I'm busy. Can you call me right back? But typically, if they answer the phone and they've asked about something, they're going to answer you. And then I'll be like, wonderful. How can I help you? And typically they just want to see the house, but that's where you have to delve into them. Yes, I would love to show you this property. Are you currently working with a realtor? And then if they say yes or no, sometimes they'll say, well, I've seen a couple of houses, because what they're doing is they're calling on each listing to try to find the listing agent because they don't understand what a buyer representation is. So what I say is, oh, you've seen a few homes with different realtors, but aren't under a buyer's agreement. And they'll be like, yes, I've seen a couple of them. And then I always say it gets a little frustrating tracking down the listing agent for each home, doesn't it? And once you start saying this to them, they start thinking and understanding. Most of the time you don't even reach the true listing agent. If somebody goes into realtor.com or Zillow or any of these places, homes.com, typically they are not going to be calling anyone but somebody that paid for that lead, which is good for us when we do have leads, but you have to now redirect their brain to understand that you can do it all for them. Do not think that that buyers or sellers understand the policy and the procedures of a real estate agent. Most of the time they do not understand, and you have to educate them. So typically I'll say, oh, I know it gets a little frustrating tracking down the listing agent. Most of the time you don't even reach them. Did you know, no matter whose listing it is, I am able to show you any property and represent you exclusively. The best news is the seller pays my commission, not you. Please say this to people. If you have someone, that's a 50-year-old man that's bought a house before, he probably knows this, but you need to say it anyway. Make sure that they know when you have a first-time home buyer, they're very skittish. And that's why they keep paying, they keep calling all of these listing agents, they think it is, because they think they have to pay you. So you have to say that word that, the seller pays the commission. And then I'll say something like, let's set up the property you inquired about. Do you mind sharing with me what you like about this property? This goes back to what Christine said. If the house is pending, whether it's pending or not, you want to know what it is about that house that made it special, that made them reach out and call. And don't think that they haven't already called 5 other realtors. So they probably have called other people. So I just put in there, I'd like to search to see if maybe there are a few others we could see while we were out looking at this one today. At that moment, it keeps them from calling other real estate agents to look at different properties. Does that make sense to everyone? And then, I put in there, once we meet, we can determine if we are a good fit. And I never try to get anyone to sign an exclusive buyer's agreement until you have met and you make sure you're a good fit together. And you know what? You might meet somebody and you're not a good fit. They're not a good fit for you. You might meet somebody and they're cranky and overbearing, or, they make you uncomfortable. So it needs to be a mutual agreement. And sometimes I'll say something like, once we meet, we can determine if we're a good fit. I never try to get anybody to sign anything until we've met to make sure we like each other. Usually when you say that about that buyer's agreement, it makes them laugh. Like at that point they relax, and, I'll be like, you may not like me when you meet me or something like that. And then at that moment, they feel relaxed. They don't feel like I'm pushing them. So when you do have them sign the buyer's agreement, they sign it and they don't feel that pressure. A lot of agents do shove that thing down their throat and people don't even know they sign it. Don't be that realtor. Yes, you might get a sale out of it because they're forced to use you, but you want people to use you because they like you and because you've been honest. And you will get, way more benefit out of that. And too many agents have buyers sign them. I just don't want y'all to be that agent, but you do need to get them to sign it because it is a law. It's part of, it's part of DPOR and it's part of, VAR and LAR, RVAR. You need to get them to sign it, for protection, but it's how you go about it. Does anyone have any stories about how they get people to sign a buyer's agreement? Or any struggles you've had?
I find that it's best to do what you're doing, Teresa, and that is kind of hold off on it. Now, I know there are some agents that will yank them right from me if I haven't actually met with them yet. But, if they're calling everybody, but hopefully through the conversation that we have, they're not going to go anywhere else because like you said, they're always saying, oh, you answered more questions than my realtor has ever answered for me. So I try to do the same approach where I build the relationship, and then I follow up and I make sure I send them some properties. And with that, they're like, wow, and they want to work with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you can take one with you just for the houses you're seeing that day and write in that address where they get comfortable signing one. And you just say, hey, this is just for today. We're not under, any agreement unless at the end of the day, you feel like, that I am a good agent and a good fit for you. But I agree. I think sometimes it's just rude. And some agents will not even get in the car until they've signed
Right.
like a year agreement with them.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, but I feel like with mine, I very rarely have anyone that cheats on me. They usually are going to stand beside me, and because I give them value. And that's what I want to teach you guys, is how to give value.
Hey, Teresa.
Uh-huh.
I've even told buyers in the past that I consider it like a, senior moment, can't think of the word, but that, if they don't like me, I give them an out. This is just, a technicality that we need to do because the law requires me to do it. But, if you feel that I'm not working for you, you have the right to fire me. But that works both ways, I tell them, because chances are, if you're not happy with me, I most likely am not happy with you either. So, and they usually kind of chuckle at that, oh, you have the right to fire me as well. And I actually have fired buyers before. I just said, you're wasting my time, in nice words. I wouldn't say that exactly to them.
Yeah.
But I'll give them that out, that, hey, we need to do this, but a loyalty pledge is more what I call it. I said it's a legal contract, but I consider it a loyalty pledge.
I like the loyalty pledge. That's a great word.
Yeah, I tell them I'm spending my time, working for you, and I'm not paid by the sellers until we're at the table. So, if we can consider this a loyalty pledge, with the right to get out of it if you don't feel that I'm doing what, I should be doing for you.
Yeah, I love the way that's worded, because it is very true. And, I do it with my listings too. When I have a listing, I tell people, you know what, if for whatever reason you're not happy with my service, I would never want to hold your feet to the fire. Very rarely have I ever had anybody ask to get out of a listing. Now, I've fired many, just because they're just so difficult that you can't do anything with them. But typically when you go back to fire them in a very nice way, they'll usually ask you to stay, and they'll change. But there are a couple of them you just got to let them go. But I like that, because I think that nobody should be forced to use someone that they don't like. And they're going to like you a lot more when you don't force them. Nobody likes to be forced. So yeah, thanks for that, Christine. It's a great way to say it. And so I have some scripts here, and a lot of these are for looking for listings, because with listings, you will get buyers. You can use these scripts, different ways. But right now, because we have such a lack of inventory, you almost have to go out and get these listings to get buyers. And you can't keep a buyer if you can't find them a house. So that it goes hand in hand, probably more than it ever has. So you're going to have to start getting comfortable, reaching out and calling people. I have something, that I'm working on right now to go out and get inventory, and it's like a twofold, you can't even represent a buyer if you don't have houses. So these are going to be some scripts that I really want you to, to concentrate on. You do not have to memorize them in the words that are on here. You need to memorize them and rewrite them in your words. Everyone has a different language that they speak. Some people are more serious. Some people are completely professional. Some people like to joke around. Some people are from up north. Some are from the South. You have to put this in your own personality. If they don't see your personality come through and you sound like a recording, the scripts aren't going to do you any good. So that's why I want you to practice them, because it needs to be your own personality coming out at all times. A lot of these are written like for me, because, I rewrote them for me. But like, if you're looking for inventory, here's one here. Hi, I'm Teresa Grant with Keller Williams Realty. Is there a good time to talk? If they say they only have a few minutes or are busy, of course, I completely understand you're low on time, Mr. Jones, so I'll get right to the point. At that point, do not bore these people to death with what you have to say. Because it might be a professional and it's a doctor on the way out the door or blah, blah, blah. You want to be that person because you now know that they have a direct personality. Do you mind scrolling a little bit, Shalaya? They have that personality, so you need to learn to adapt to it. And I always say, listen more and speak less, because they will tell you things about themselves and about what they're doing if you just listen to them. So this script gauges a prospect's interest in the market. Let's look at this one as dangling a carrot in front of them. And the script is good for getting a more in-depth look into the homeowner and if they've considered putting their property on the market. Right now, because of the way the market is, even people that aren't interested in moving they do have their ear to the ground on what's going on, because they know that the market is really good. And, if they're thinking about retiring in 5 years, they might be thinking closer to retiring in 6 months, and getting into a different home. The reason for my call is that I have some buyers that are looking for homes in your neighborhood at the moment. Would you consider selling your home if you had someone lined up to buy it? Wait and listen to what they say. At the point that you call that neighborhood, you already have all the recent sales in the past year in that neighborhood. You want to have them in front of you so that you know what you're talking about. So do your research, and you do it on the MLS, but don't forget to go to the GIS. Has anyone in here not been on the GIS? I know there's a couple of you that are new on those. The GIS is a county website or a city website that will tell you all the recent sales. Because there's so many for sale by owner homes right now, you're going to go into there and you will be able to tell. The best GIS site is the Lynchburg City. That one is amazing, because when you go in, you click recent sales and it's going to pop up the whole neighborhood of everything that is sold in there. Don't just depend on the MLS anymore, because the MLS is just 50% of your tool belt. It is not 100% these days. So you want to be smarter than the other agent. So you can pull up, what the recent sales are and let them know it's been anywhere from this to this, a home similar to yours sold for that. You need that information before you make the phone call. So then you wait and listen. And the overall goal of the script is to plant the seed of selling a property in the prospect's mind. Planting a seed isn't enough, which is why you need to create a sense of urgency in the call. If you tell the prospect you have buyers who are looking in the area, this does just that. So do not lie to people. People can see through I have somebody that wants your home. That's what agents do when they call an expired listing. If that agent had somebody to buy that house, wouldn't you think they would have brought it to the house when it was on the market? So don't be that agent, because people can see through the lie. Most people can. So what you want to do, though, is just say that there are buyers. This house had multiple bids, and if that house had multiple bids, all you got to do is call the agent and ask them, just say, hey, how many people did you have on this? Get your knowledge ahead of time, because if there's multiple bids, then you know that there are buyers in that neighborhood. So do you mind scrolling it a little bit more, Shalaya? So if your homeowner shows an interest, make an appointment when it suits them within the next week to tell them you'll do an initial pricing assessment of their property. Many homeowners will tell you they are not interested in selling at the moment, and that's okay, but you must still pass on the information, explain how they can get in touch with you. No doubt the prospect will bring up your call in a conversation the following weeks, and this could be what leads them to think about selling a little more seriously. A cold lead is better than no lead, so keep them in your pipeline. And if you talk to someone, you've got to follow through. You can also, if you wanted to, you could pick a street and do a CMA, which if you're new, we can teach you how to do the CMA, which is a comparison market analysis. you can always also leave them at their door with your business card. So if you don't know how to find the person, just start taking them, pick a neighborhood. Don't randomly do it. You got to pick the neighborhood and stay in the same neighborhood and keep working that same one. So, but again, if you're newer, or even if you're, not new and your business is a little slow because there's no buyers, get out there and start canvassing these neighborhoods, because the more activity you do, the more you'll get. I've told this story before to some of y'all, but anyone that's new, when I first started out, and it was in, the end of 2004, beginning of 2005, I didn't have any business and I was new here. I had just moved to the area. No one knew who I was, and I'd never been in real estate. I went to a neighborhood that had a lot of lots for sale by the company I was with, asked him if I could market them. And I hung out in that neighborhood every day. I hung out in that neighborhood on the weekends. I was like, people are probably thought I was a stalker. I just hung out in that neighborhood, and every car that came down the road looking at the lots, I asked them if I could help them. Then I started knocking on doors, talking to neighbors. And I ended up in 6 months, I sold the neighborhood out by probably at least 90%. And those lots hadn't sold in 4 years. So that was how I got my new construction start. And, I probably look like an idiot in that, cul-de-sac. But the point is people do cruise through neighborhoods, and in the evening and the weekends, go to a neighborhood that has new construction and just hang out, just ask the developer if they mind. I doubt they will mind, because nobody else does it. Does anyone have any questions or suggestions or things they've done, or you've had, any type of a fear factor in doing this? Because don't be afraid to tell me you have a fear factor, because everyone does. Yes, Lisa, is that you?
Oh, I was stretching, but I will say something. I do have a question. What about, because you talked about the buyer agency, what about mortgage qualification? How do you guys handle, are we, just taking anyone out, or are we
Good question.
mortgage qualification?
Good question. Okay. That is a very touchy, gentle subject. And first-time home buyers are the easy ones, because when they call, they are first-time home buyers. So they're typically not offended when you ask. And so with a first-time home buyer, typically, I'll just say, sometimes I'll even ask people, is this a cash purchase? Are you looking to finance? That's a really easy one for an experienced buyer, because right off the bat, you're not saying that they can't buy a house. But when it's a newer person, I typically will just say, have you spoken with a lender, or would you like to speak with one of mine to get a better understanding of your comfort zone, with pricing. You don't want to say, what can you afford? Because that's offensive. You just want to say what your comfort zone is, and just say, you might get qualified for more than you want to spend. That way you're understanding that, especially if it's an experienced buyer, that, some people could afford $1 million house and they only want a budget of 500,000. So you're understanding that right away. If they have not spoken with a lender, what I tell them is, and sometimes you can pre-qual a little bit yourself, how long have you been on your job? That kind of thing. Have you ever been late on a payment with a newer one? If they sound like they've been on their job for, the last 5 years, blah, 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 sometimes I will take them out, and then I'll have that serious conversation with them. But typically I try to get them with a lender if they don't have one yet, just because I tell them that if you see your dream home and you do not have a pre-qualification, you won't get it, because you have to have a pre-qual ahead of time. Christine just did one with me over the holiday, and the lady did not have one, but she told me that she had the money, and she was with Beacon and Bank of the James, and she sounded mature, if that makes sense. She was helping her daughter. So the fact that it was over a Memorial weekend, there was nothing, no Memorial Weekend, New Year's weekend, there was nothing she could do because the banks were closed. So if it's a situation like that, I'll go ahead and take them out. But it is something that you need to get them into a lender. If they get wonky on you right away and they say, I don't want to talk to a lender until I find my home, or they start getting a little bit weird like that, do it with your gut, because sometimes there are people weirdly that like to look at houses that know that they just had a bankruptcy. So, and they know that they just, changed their job or something just happened. If you have someone that just changed jobs and they have a job like they're a nurse or something like that, if it's the same job and they changed, it won't affect their lending. But if somebody did a complete, job change and they were with somebody for 5 years and they went into a different career, sometimes it can affect their lending. So you can kind of be the expert with that. Does that make sense? Let's drop it down a little bit, Shalaya. So the community champion script is one of my favorite ones, and I like it because it can be anyone, and you can be an existing agent, a seasoned agent, a new agent, or anyone to do this. Positioning yourself as a champion in the community can help build trust between you and those in the neighborhood. The script is good for humanizing yourself as an agent and connecting with prospects through their sense of community. It's a great way to build relationships with sellers and buyers. Like, hi, Mr. Jones, this is Teresa Grant with Keller Williams Realty. I'm reaching out as I have been living in this neighborhood or this area for over 10 years, and I just love this place. And this is like me as a new agent. As a new agent at Keller Williams with a specialization in the local area, I wanted to know if I could find a suitable buyer for your property in the next 30 days. Would you be open to meeting with me to discuss? When they know you're a neighbor, like for instance, I live in Peters Estates, which is like the whole strip down 811. So it doesn't mean that I necessarily live right there beside them, but I live, throughout that community. So if it's a subdivision or if it's just an area, if it's in Huddleston, Virginia, but it's in a certain part of Huddleston, then you're like a neighborhood expert. And a lot of people would much rather, list their house with somebody who is a neighbor. It makes them feel more comfortable and humanizes you. This is a script for leveraging a recent sale you made. Again, if a house closes and you are not the agent that sold that house, you can still use those documents to do this with, because you just change the way that you say it. Because if you're new and you're not the one that did it, once it closes, that is no longer the other agent's client, and you can go and start talking to people. So this script positions you as an agent who has already made a sale in the neighborhood, and you're the one to get results for them. But it can also be that you're the one with the knowledge of the sale in the neighborhood, and it's just how you say it. You're trying to get prospects who think about how much their properties are worth by highlighting a property that was recently sold in the area or you sold. Again, it can just be a property that recently sold. Hi, Mr. Jones, I'm reaching out because I sold a property down the street from you, or I can say a property down the street for you sold recently at this address. It's a great area with a lot of interest, and the moment the properties are selling for fantastic prices. Out of interest, have you thought about selling your house? Does everyone see that you can be a brand new agent or a seasoned agent? You either sold it or you didn't. You can use the same script. You just want to make sure that it comes out of your mouth like it's yours. Sorry, I think Isaiah might be getting me sick. This should kickstart their thinking process. When you knock on that door, the neighbor, they might be literally thinking about selling their house, or you might be planting seeds in their mind. If the neighbor's house 4 doors down sold for $500,000, then they start to imagine their property could sell for that too. Highlighting recent sales in a neighborhood is a great way to get a prospect thinking about if it's also the right move for them. If they ask you, I would love to sell my house, but I don't know where I would go, you can tell them that you are able to put in the listing that it's contingent on them finding suitable housing. That can be a pain for you because you may not be able to find them suitable housing. But what I have found most of the time is they will figure out a place to go temporarily if they don't find something, if that right offer comes in. We have had a couple of deals that have fallen through because the people couldn't find it and they were serious about that. But typically you'll end up working it out in the end. Once they get their head wrapped around it and they get that big offer, they're good. If the prospect shows a hint of interest, you should offer up any information about the recent sale that will paint you in a good light. It could be how quickly you sold the property or how quickly the property sold or how well the property was priced. From there, you should be able to look at and book an appointment with them to at least look at their house and price their home. So if you were not the agent on that house, which is probably going to be the case in a lot of areas, if that agent who sold that house does not contact that neighborhood, they don't really know the difference. Unless they knew that agent personally, they're not even going to pay attention to it. You just happen to be the person that's in front of them. So this script has two goals: to get the prospect thinking about putting their home on the market and to have you positioned as the agent to get the property sold. If you are talking to a for sale by owner and they're getting a ton of activity on their house and they're just not going to list it with an agent, do not just walk away from that for sale by owner. First of all, you need to ask them, and it's probably in here somewhere, you need to ask them, are you looking to purchase a home locally when your home sells? Because at that point, even if you're not going to be their listing agent, you might be able to be their buyer's agent or refer them to another area when they move. So, don't get discouraged just because you're not listing that house. You could also handle the buyer side. And once you start showing them properties when their house is listed and their house doesn't sell, who's the one they're going to trust to go back and list their house with? So this is all, I think the number one thing that hurts realtors is all they're thinking about is all the time that they're giving to this job and that they're not getting immediate satisfaction. If you give from your heart and they can tell that all you really care about is helping them, that you're not looking at your paycheck down the road, it does come together. I mean, it's just, I don't know why it does, but it does. People can feel when you genuinely care about them. And this is what I tell myself when it doesn't work out, when something happens and, they end up not buying or whatever. I know that I gave myself to that person, and it's like my personal tithing. I gave them my time, and in the end, it just really does come back. Whether they tell somebody else about you, you feel good about yourself because you really helped somebody. So just be that person that's there for them, and it will come back to you. That being said, you can't just work 24 hours a day and not get paid, but it will come back to you. I can promise you it'll come back. So here's another thing too. Hang on, where am I? I lost my place. You moved me up. Thanks, Shia. This script for nailing your elevator pitch. Every realtor needs an elevator pitch, but the biggest mistake realtors make is coming across as robotic and rehearsed. So you need to sound natural and convincing. And this is where you put your own personality in. I mean, I'm looking at everybody on here, and I know most of you very well, and every one of us has a different personality. So you don't want my personality in your elevator pitch. You want your personality in it. So make sure that this comes across as you. So this script is good for getting prospects curious about your real estate agency and what you might be able to offer them in their hopes for the property sale. Elevator pitchers have one goal: to highlight why a buyer or seller should pick you as the real estate agent. And here's some examples. I just sold a property in the area last week for considerably more than asking price. I know you've got a tight deadline for selling your property. If I could show you a plan to get your property moving on the market and above the asking price, can we set up a meeting? I mean, most people are going to be willing to listen to what you have to say. it's up to you if you want to spend that time preparing that to take it to them. If you were in your business and you're already working 60 hours a week and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot put another thing in here. Maybe you don't want to do this. But if you look at your calendar and your calendar is mostly empty, you have a lot of time to do this. And here's what you'll get out of it. You're going to meet somebody new. You're going to make a new friend. You're going to learn something, and you're going to practice on these people. So these are all important things. And, when you went to college and you spent, whether it was 4 or 8 years or however long you went, think about, you didn't even get paid for that. You had to pay the college to get this, get this training. Right now, you're creating your own training. And so at least you don't have to pay somebody else to get it. And you might make some, income off of it. So that's what I want you to have in your head every day as you get out there. And if you're only working real estate part-time, make sure that if it's 20 hours a week, that's what you're putting into it. So I'm on a mission here's another elevator speech. I'm on a mission to help 50 people find their dream homes by the end of the year. I'd like you to be one of those people, and I want to be the person that finds your dream home in the shortest time frame possible. Would you be open to meeting with me tomorrow? Again, this is like a buyer consultation, and if you're new and you don't know what that is, it's when you can do it over the phone or you can do it in person. In person, yes, it takes time. But when you sit down face to face with someone who has called you, and you're having coffee, or you're meeting at the office, or whatever you're doing, or you're going to just show them one house just to kind of, break the bread, they are bonding to you at that moment. It's the same thing about putting someone in your car versus meeting somebody at a house. When they're in your car, no, you cannot return phone calls and you're with them all day. With COVID, you have to be careful. So there are some things there. Sometimes they have babies and they have car seats and they can't be in your car. But when you get them in your car, you are bonding with them. The closest clients that I have that I've worked with are the ones that were in my car. Krista was my client. And I was Carol Massey's client, just saying, we have like a family that just keeps going. So just remember that the more of your personality you put in, the better. Your overall goal with the elevator pitch script should be not to sell yourself as the best realtor in the area, but to simply book an appointment with the prospect. If they do object, show empathy toward their objection. I understand you're busy. Shalai, do you mind moving me up a little bit? Ask for details. Can I ask, why do you have a tight deadline for your property sale? Offer up a solution. Can we get your property sold within your time frame? Positioning the conversation around their pain points can make a difference in the success of your elevator pitch. Everyone has pain points. We all do, and if you can kind of keep digging and hitting them, you're going to find them. But if you don't care enough to dig into somebody to find out, within the first meeting or even on the phone, you need to know how many kids they have. Do they have grandkids? Do they have pets? Do they have family in the area? Are they looking for a position here? You need to dig and find out what their pain points are and their pleasure points. Because if you don't know what they are, they're going to go to the next realtor who cares enough to ask. So please dig into everything about them and make notes. I have notes on my phone, and I could pull up on my notes every single human being that I have ever spoken with when things were still in the cloud. If somebody reaches out to me and I know I've spoken with them before, hey, Tabitha, that client that you have that you're working on that listing?
Yes.
I was able to go in because he came up on my phone when you told me who it was. I was able to go in and see my whole conversation with him whenever he reached out. So it's like automatically you just pull it up and you know everything about them. So make really, really good notes. I don't care where, please don't put your notes in a notebook. You can put notes in a notebook, but they must go in your phone, because there's no way for you to scroll through a notebook from 2017 and get to that person's name. But if you go into notes on your phone, all you have to do is you just type in their name and all their information comes up. And so while you're talking to them, you'll have that in there. I knew who Krista and Christy were the second that they reached out to me, and I had spoken with them, I think, a year before, and I knew who they were, and I was able to call them by their names. So, and now they're like some of my closest friends. It always works out. But that being said, you know, you just want to make sure that you keep track of all of this. The script for pitching someone you already know: has someone put their property on the market for sale by owner that you've already met at an event? Hang on, I'm going to scroll this down so I can see. Through a mutual friend. If so, this is a great opportunity for you to connect with a prospect organically and build on the trust you've already established. This script is good for getting a head start on other realtors in some other way. You already know the prospect. Use that to your advantage and get your foot in the door before your competitors do. You know, you can say something like, you know, hi, Sue, this is John. We met at a fundraiser, you know, for blah, blah, blah. So how have you been? Don't open with the fact that you're a real estate agent. You know, you don't want to be a secret agent, but you don't want to start with that. You know, you want to relax them and make them, you know, want to talk to you. Build trust in the conversation from your last engagement with a prospect. And then you can say, I was just calling because, as you know, Sarah might have told you, I'm a real estate agent for Keller Williams Realty. I'm just reaching out to family and friends to see where they're at with their properties and if they've thought about upgrading, downsizing, or selling their home. John, have you considered a move, considering the market right now? When your property sells, I would love to help you find your new home. That is like the easiest call. It's like a warm person. You know who they are. They don't have to have their house on the market now. If you see it on the market, that's great. But either way, you can just call people that you know and just say, hey, this market is crazy. And I'm just calling friends and family to see if anyone, you know, wants to take advantage of this great market. That script is not for people when we're in a down market, when nobody can sell their home. This is for a now market, you know, to get out there in front of them. Does anyone have any questions on that? As far as, I know you all have friends, and I know you've all met people, and whether it could be from church. I mean, I don't care if it's your church, just contact every single person you go to church with and just tell them this is a great market and you just wanted to say hello and see if you can help them or if they've considered selling. I guarantee if you call 10 of them, you'll get a listing out of it and or a buyer. I guarantee if you don't call 10 of them, you won't get anything. So I would say just pick up the phone. Number 7, Shalaya. The script that gets to the point. Hi, this is John from Keller Williams Realty. I'm calling as my agency has some buyers who are interested in buying a home in blah, blah, blah area. Can you tell me if you're looking to sell your home either now or in the near future? It's to the point. I'm the type of person that when somebody calls me, I just want them to get to the point. You know, sometimes if you go through all those hi, how are yous, you know, whenever a salesperson calls me, it puts me on edge before they even start talking, you know, because usually I have like 10 other people I need to return a call to. So if you do get that, you know, just make sure that you get to the point if they sound like they're in a hurry. The script to pitch a property owner who's already selling. Sometimes people are unsuccessful when they try to sell their homes privately to avoid commissions. Pitching these prospects when they are struggling to sell and feeling deflated can be a great way to leverage your real estate calling. If a house is listed for sale by owner right now, typically they sell pretty easily, but there's always going to be that one, whether they have horrible pictures, they priced it wrong, it's not going out in social media properly. There's a lot of things that happen. I had one recently that someone called on, and for some reason it had gone into Zillow, but it hadn't gone into anything else. So there's sometimes reasons why they don't go in. So the script is good for contacting a prospect who hasn't had any success selling a house on their own. They're more likely to be open to hearing your pitch if they've tried and failed. So if you see something that's been online, you know, for a couple of weeks and it doesn't look like it's gone pending, you know, it could be sold and they just haven't made it pending. But a good chance is after a couple of weeks, they're pretty deflated. And you can say, hi, is this John? My name is Teresa and I'm calling from Keller Williams Realty. I was surfing the web this afternoon and I noticed you've got your house up for a private sale. I was just wondering if you've had success. I called a couple of days ago, a for sale by owner in Amherst. It was a very big house. Christine, I sent that one to you. I think, wasn't that the one I sent to you? And I started chatting with them. They had had their house on the market before. And I asked them, I said, can I just come by and preview your home? Because I had somebody from Texas looking, at that property. And then, I said, do you have water on the property? They're like, no, but the lot behind me does. So I had them send me that information. So as we were talking, I said, would you mind if I previewed your home? They have reached out to me 3 times to preview their home. So if my COVID test comes back negative, I'm going to go this weekend and take a look at it. But my point is once I'm in front of them and their home has not sold, do you know how much easier it is? Now, do I really have the time to run over there and do it? Do I, I don't want to take the time, but if I don't get in front of these people and somebody else gets in front of them, they're probably going to list their house with somebody. So it's just worth it for you to get in the car and go and preview that home. Because it's just a phone call. And when you reach out to a for sale by owner, the first word out of your mouth is not, hey, can I list your house? You've got to build a relationship with them. And I didn't even know these people's name for the first, 3 hours. We were texting back and forth. Finally, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I forgot to ask what your name is, and I just started kind of talking to them that way. So, don't just do nothing because you're going to figure it out. And then you can say something like, wait for their answer when you ask, if you've had any success. I don't like the word success. That was on here. It's not really my favorite word. And usually it's going to be a no. And then say, I'm surprised the market is slow at the moment. How long have you been? Because the market's not slow. It's just not a slow market. And how long have you been on the market? What kind of response have you got from the interested buyers so far? And wait for their answer. Just keep waiting and let them answer you, because they're going to start talking themselves out of what they're doing. Where are most of the interested buyers coming from? Have you had an open house? Are you relying on your internet advertisement? Again, this is your opportunity to tell them, that your company has 180,000 realtors across the country and nationwide, that you can get them in front of, because there are things that a realtor can do that the for sale by owner can't. Yes, some houses are going to fly off the market no matter what happens, but then there's going to be specialty markets that don't. And then you can say, that's very interesting. The reason I'm calling you today is to see where you are with the sale. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. What I like to do then at that point is say, do you mind if I come by and preview your home? Is there anyone here that's uncomfortable previewing somebody's home or doesn't know what to do when you do it?
Teresa, I like to do previews for people, that are out of town or they're a little hesitant to go out right now, like that one that was looking for the view. When I do a preview though, I like to take somebody else with me because I don't want to be just one person in the house, because you never know, what they might say later on. Well, that agent was by themselves and I'm missing such and such. So anyway, that's just, take another agent with you because they'll want to know what the inventory is too.
I feel like maybe it was the market you were in. I've never had that. What I feel is when I take somebody with me, it puts them on guard. Like, I don't know, like, I know you said that the other day. It's such a trusting area that we live in. It's just different than a lot of areas. I mean, when I was in Florida, geez, you talk to somebody at the store, they think you're going to rob them, but here people are very laid back. But I found when I take somebody with me, it's like you're ganging up on them. The things they'll say to me by myself are not the things they would say if there were multiple people in the room. I don't know. It's a weird thing, and I know you did say that, before. Does it make you feel uncomfortable for your safety, Christine?
No, I mean, usually when we preview things, we make the appointment and it's as if it's a regular showing, so the homeowner's not there. So if the homeowner's there, I have no problem going by myself.
Oh, yeah, no, I like the homeowner to be there. So when I preview a home, I'm glad you brought that up. When I preview a home, and it's a for sale by owner, I always want the homeowner there. Because if they're not there, I don't have the chance of listing their house and bonding with them. So I do want them to be there to let me in. And most of them, you'll find this, Christine, most of them around here, you couldn't get a for sale by owner out of that house to even show it, let alone preview it. They won't leave. They follow you around everywhere you go in the house.
No, I get that with the FSBO, but in that other case with that other house, that was a listing by another agent.
Yeah.
But I wanted to.
Yeah. And on that, because we're a licensed realtor, you know, I don't think anyone would ever think that you took something or did something, but I see what you're saying, you know, with that, because you usually have somebody with you. And two, like, if it's like a for sale by owner, I always ask them, you know, would you mind if I did a live video tour, or would you mind if I did a video tour of your home? There's so many things, like, as they see you doing stuff and you say, oh, well, this is what I do for my listings. As they see you doing those things when you're there, they'll see a difference in you. And also you can give them tips. You don't want to give them the farm when you're there, but there are things that you can say, you know, when you're there, and, you know, just say, you know, I know it hasn't sold, you know, have you, you know, thought about this? Or I have a home stager, you know, that I work with, you know, if you did decide to sell your home or list your home. So there's different things that you can do, but I see what you're saying. You're saying whenever it's another agent's listing. Yeah, for just a regular preview. But if you're doing a live video, you know, it does help if it's just you in the house. Oh my gracious. And when the seller's there, it's impossible, but you want the seller there if it's for sale by owner, because that's how you get to know them. We've talked about before that you can offer to do open houses for them as well, but don't do it until you have the proper paperwork. You can offer it before you do it though. You need to talk to us to get the proper paperwork. When you do an open house for them, again, that's just offering your time, but the open house is more for you to get buyers in there. They're looking at that house. So either they'll bite at this point or they won't. If they don't, I make a note of it, you know, in your real estate CRM to follow up on a regular basis. You know, don't just ignore them. I wouldn't toss anyone out of my database. You know, I don't, unless they're just hateful and mean and you never want to speak to them again, I would not take them out. Another thing, don't use the script that the seller already is using another agent. It's unethical. So don't be that realtor. If they have another agent and they tell you they're not happy with them, what I say to people is, you know, well, if you get out of your obligation, you know, I'm happy to help you. That's really all that you can do, you know, because some companies just don't let people out, you know, and I'm with you, Christine. I think that people should be able to get out. If I'm not doing my job and somebody has to fire me or want to get out, that's shame on me, unless they're just difficult. So this is the script to stop a discussion about commissions until you get yourself out there, because if they're so caught up on the commission, they're never going to hear what you say, and there's no reason to be arguing with them. And on a for sale by owner, a lot of times I've seen a lot of them that have underpriced their houses. And that's why if you do see one that just went on the market that day and you see that it's underpriced, you call them immediately. I called one a couple months ago, and it had been on the market a couple of days and I missed them. They had already accepted an offer that day. And I told them and showed them what other houses similar to theirs had been selling for. It was $40,000 less that they sold their house for. They were devastated. They tried to get out of it. They wanted to list with me. You know what I mean? All these things were there, and $40,000 on a $200,000 property is a lot percentage wise. So you can also help them to educate them. Although nothing is certain in real estate, it's likely your prospect will bring up the topic of your commission rate. This script is good for not getting locked into talking about your commission on a call. As we all know, it can get ugly. The best way to handle an objection about commission is to extinguish it early. The prospect, Teresa, I don't want to pay more than 3% on the sale. Hi, John, I'm making a note that you don't want to pay anything more than 3% commission. How's tomorrow or Tuesday looking to meet up to preview the property? Boom, it's done. You can't have that conversation with them over the phone. You're not saying that you're going to do it. You're just saying, I'll make note of it. And here you're not agreeing to their terms, but merely acknowledging it to make the prospect feel understood. If you disagree over commissions on an initial call, you may never step foot inside the prospect's property. So I do not want you to lie to them. And, but at that point, you're just saying, I'm going to make note, because your job is to teach them your value when you get there. During
Lisa?
today's,
I just have a quick question about that. I think that's one of the hardest things to overcome initially is the 3% for a FSBO, because they're constantly saying, oh, you're more than welcome. I'll pay you the commission if you bring the buyer.
yes. Oh, some of them say they won't even do that.
Yeah,
anymore.
well, forget you, but we'll get in the house somehow.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
So how
Chris.
do you overcome that?
Well, I think the first thing is to do what it said a minute ago. I'll make note of that. To get them in the house, get in the house. Don't argue with them over the commission till you get in there. But once you get into the house, it is a little bit harder during this market because the houses are selling themselves. And, and you just have to adjust to that. This market's not going to be here forever. We've all been in the other market to where you are so much more valuable to them as a good agent compared to a part-time agent or somebody that wasn't paying attention because they need you. And, a good example is most of y'all probably know where Cornerstone is in Lynchburg. Cornerstone Community was listed by an agent back before the recession. They were friends with the developer. And they just didn't really do anything except put it on MLS and hope that it sold. Well, the recession came and the developer almost went bankrupt. So because he was in a bind, Tina Fryer and I were able to get in front of him and show him that if we sell this many lots, will you list this property with us? And we had it in terms of how many years. We brought him out of bankruptcy. But if it had been the good market, we couldn't get in there. He needed us. So then we were able to get in there. He had to fire his friend. So just know that, sometimes it depends on the way the market is. But Krista, you're right. It's tough right now.
I had a number of previews and I was in front of them and I did a great pitch. I knew, and they were like, well, if we can't sell it, that's fine. But they got them sold within 2 days.
Yeah. And if they get them sold, it doesn't. But when you're in there, try to get them as a buyer, so you do have the opportunity to sell them something else. And even if they're moving to another area, you can do a referral. So don't lose them right there when their house sells. You want to at least be their buyer's agent. If their house isn't selling, at that point, you become more valuable. And if it's not selling, it's not always about price. Sometimes it's just the way the house looks. I mean, I've seen the worst pictures I've ever seen in my life, even on MLS with other realtors. I'm like, who took these pictures? So sometimes it's the pictures. Sometimes, it can't be their marketing. I mean, their house goes out everywhere in the same thing. It's more in how you present it. And maybe there are some certain things you need to do to, paint and get stuff ready. There's just always something that's going to make a house sell. That's not always about price. But you're right. If it doesn't sell, it's easier to get in the driver's seat, Krista, than when the ones that sell in 2 days. And that's why if you, wait a few days and find out what's going on with it, but get in there because you can still be their buyer's agent. I'd rather have at least the buyer side than just, the no side at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and here's a bonus tip, making the most out of your open houses. As a realtor, you need to be looking for new prospects every chance you get. This includes any open houses you host for current clients. It's really tough right now because if there is a listing and you're going to do an open house, the daggum thing sells before the open house. So not everyone that intends open houses are there to buy. Hey, Isaiah. are there to buy. Some people are just there to have a casual look around. Be mindful that many who attend open houses are either sellers who have properties on the market or homeowners who may be considering putting their homes on the market. In your open house, you will have the opportunity for as many sellers as you do buyers. So don't be afraid to ask them, are you considering selling your house? Because, if they're in there looking, they probably have something to sell. These people are gold when it comes to real estate prospects, and you should have an open house pitch ready to go to make the most of the opportunity. If you're newer or you're not selling as much and you're not doing open houses, you need to do open houses. You might do an open house and nothing happens and you don't, everybody's got an agent, you hear that same thing. But if you do an open house right, you have the opportunity to network that neighborhood. Where was I? Oh, there we go. Ask every single person that comes to the open house how they found out about it. It doesn't matter if they found out through a newspaper, which that doesn't happen anymore, or they saw the for sale sign in the front yard. They're all listing prospects or buyer prospects. Once you've opened up the conversation with them, find out if they currently live locally, if they're looking to buy or sell now or in the near future, what their time frame to buy or sell is, when they want to move or sell, when they would need to sell their properties, they could purchase another home, what's their time frame, if they've had an agent conduct an appraisal on their current property, if the property is already on the market. If all goes well at the open house, you'll arrive back to your office with some interested buyers or sellers. Do not go to an open house. There's no reason to do an open house if you're not planning on selling something. So if you're there and it's quiet, you do your prospecting on your phone. If people come in and they already have an agent, that's okay because you've already gone through the neighborhood to do, for the open house. You can get open houses from for sale by owners. You can get them from other agents. There are so many ways that you can get them. It's just that if you list a house, you always want to list it maybe the day before an open house. So don't list your house on Monday, because you'll never get to your open house right now because the market's so tight. You want to list it where you can have just enough time to market your property for the open house and get in there to that open house, because that's where your buyers and sellers are going to come from. And I had to learn that the hard way because I was listing mine earlier and then I never had a chance to do the open house. So, and if anyone wants to piggyback on an open house, that one I don't feel like causes as much conflict, when than when you're trying to meet with a seller. But if you want to piggyback with somebody in open house to learn, you can do that too. Just reach out. But again, if you get a listing, do not list that thing on a Monday because you'll never get a chance to do your own open house. It'll be gone.
Teresa, can you do a coming soon on Monday to go active on Friday?
So no, you cannot do it with the Lynchburg Association of Realtors. They have caused us to have to stop. We could, but if you're in RVAR, yes, you can. So I am in RVAR, for many other reasons because I do the lake. But if I was a Lynchburg agent, I would join RVAR just so that I could market my stuff coming soon.
Can you put it on Facebook as it's coming soon?
You can put it on closed Facebook only here. It's like really weird. We are not even allowed to tell another company agent that we have a house coming soon. It's a $4,000 fine, Christine. It's insanity. Nobody seems to know it. I'm just happen to be on the board, so I do know about it. But you can go into the Keller Williams closed Facebook and market it, but you can't market it to the public. So the only way to do it is if you're going to have a Sunday open house, is maybe listed on a Friday, and then you can do your marketing. Because it really, I tell you what, this market's hurt us. Like it's hurting our marketing because you can't market anything because it's gone.
Teresa, it's Tracy. I have a question. So, I'm putting my house up next week. My plan is to put it on the market Saturday morning and do an open house Sunday afternoon. And I'm going to do my own open house. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, and you might want to do it, the thing is like, you want to do it really quickly so people come in before they call somebody on your house. Does that
Right.
make sense? You don't want them to call
What I'm
another
thinking.
realtor. So you're trying to get it in there. So it's like, it's either going to be Friday or Saturday, as long as it has time to get through the system, into all of the networks. And then you do your own.
Yeah, do you think I'll be in trouble? I mean, I know it's going to be a little awkward. I'll have the agent owner sign out and all that. But at this point, I would rather do that because, I get clients from open houses.
Oh,
that's
heck
pretty
yeah.
successful. And just say, hey, I'm the owner. I've lived here 16 years and I'm selling my house to move down the street. That's
I
how
love
great
the neighborhood.
is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it'll be a little awkward. But the other thing I've noticed of the way that agents get around that coming soon, and one very prominent agent that we both know, she will put the sign in the yard 24 hours before she puts it on the MLS. So she gets the friends and neighbors calling her. That's what she did in my neighborhood because she listed a home, the one that went for $399 in my neighborhood. She
Yep.
put it in on Thursday, and she and I watched it, and then she did not make it go live in the MLS until 24 hours afterwards, which is allowed, correctly?
Yes,
Correct?
it is. Yes, you can put the sign in the yard ahead of time, and you can get by, because at least the neighbors and people driving around, and you can put a directional out. You can get by with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do to get the neighbors talking. And I am the administrator for the Facebook group of our neighborhood. I did that I set up a Facebook group for our neighborhood prior to me becoming a real estate agent, with the idea that I was going to become a real estate agent. I can't put anything out on there that I'm selling my home, right? That would probably.
You know what? I don't know that answer. Because it's a private page and you
Yeah.
are the owner and you're on that page. Text Carol Massey and ask her that question. I don't know. I don't know that answer. I feel like maybe you should be able to do it because it's a private page and you're the owner. You're not you're the realtor too, but I mean, for that matter, your husband could put it on there.
That's
and
true.
say,
I hadn't thought about
he's not a
that.
realtor, so I think you probably can, but I'd ask her.
Okay, that's a good thought. Yes, and then I will text her on those. Thanks.
Yeah, and I would go ahead and get the sign in the yard, and that way people know it's there. But anyone who does open houses, on a regular basis, I did an open house every Sunday for 7 years when I first got my license. Every Sunday, came home from vacation to do open houses on Sunday. So they do work. You just have to, you have to go in there with a positive attitude and just, know that's your day, that you're going to set it up. And your goal is to always leave to go to an appointment to look at somebody's house when you leave the open house. Not that you go home, you want to have that appointment right away, because once they get away from you, they just kind of get soft and they run into other people. So time is of the essence. The other thing, when you're showing property, and somebody calls, they're like, oh, well, next Thursday, I want to see this house. Make sure you tell them, there's a likelihood is that house will not be available next Thursday. Is there any way that I can get you in sooner? Or would you like me to do a personal video tour? Because, you have to set the stage for that, that urgency with them. Because if you don't say it to them and then it sells, they want to know why you didn't say something, so always tell them, you're not being pushy. You're just saying, with the market, things are just lasting a couple of days. And if anyone has buyers right now, the house that Tracy has, her house is adorable. And it's in a really nice, cute community in Forest. She's allowed to tell us about it because we're with the same brokerage. So did you figure out a price yet, Tracy? I lost her.
No,
Teresa,
I'm here. I'm thinking I'm going to go with yours. My husband's saying 329 instead of 325. Ickleton just went under contract in 2 days which was very similar to my house. Ickleton's like their Bannister going toward, that area.
Yep.
Square footage, similar, and it went under contract at 339
Yep.
for in 2 days. So I don't want to leave money on the table, but I don't want to be that agent that overprices our house either. So I'm torn, but I'm thinking 325 to 329. I think you're
Yeah.
right about the kitchen and the other stuff.
Yeah, Ickleton, it had a few things, but I feel like sometimes I've noticed when you list them a little bit lower, they get more multiple bids than if you list them
Right.
too high.
Right. And I would really like a cash buyer. So if anybody has a cash buyer, send them my way.
It's a really cute house, by the way. It's adorable.
Teresa,
Uh-huh.
when you were talking about RVAR, this is, and coming soons, this is something I've struggled with. So because of all of the restrictions with LAR, where we have that 24-hour time frame.
Mhm.
So you're saying that we can't even talk to other agents about it outside of our,
You are not supposed to. So agents call me all the time. Teresa, what do you have coming soon? And I'm always like, look, I'm going to tell you that I have this, this, and this, or whatever, but I need to tell you that I'm not supposed to. And there's a $4,000 fine. So I had an agent with EXP that sent it out like this blanket thing. And she's like on Messenger. And I said, hey, I said, call me, and I explained to her, I said, look, I said, there is a $4,000 fine. I'm not saying that agents don't talk amongst themselves, but there are those token realtors that love to turn people in. Don't
Yes.
throw that thing up on Facebook and say, I have this coming soon, and don't send out a blanket group email. We all have friends and people are going to talk. And sometimes you say it and you don't even know you said it,
right.
but just be very aware of it,
Okay, but with RVAR, we can do it all. We can
So
put the listing
far-
on, a week in advance or however long we
Yeah,
want.
so far RVAR, to the best of my knowledge, is still allowing the coming soon. And the reason they came up with this is really weird, because they came up with it because they wanted to make it fair to everyone. But when they did that, they're not making it fair to everyone. They didn't want us to talk amongst our friends and everybody else not know about it. But to my opinion, Keller Williams is the largest, brokerage. So for us to share all of ours seems unfair to the other ones, because we
Right.
have more people to share it with. So it doesn't,
Absolutely.
I don't think it makes, you have a company has 5 agents. Well, how fair is that? They can only talk to 5 of themselves. So I think it was ridiculous, but
I do too, especially
Mhm.
calling it a pocket listing when, like you said, 5 versus 105.
yeah, it's just not, it just seems like it's good for us because we have all these that come on our closed Facebook and tell us what we have, but it's not fair to the other companies, in my opinion. So yeah, they call it a pocket listing and that's why they came up with it, but it is a $4,000 fine. That is a big fine.
Forget that.
Yeah. So just be
But
very,
they
very
can't
careful.
get us for doing it on RVAR.
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, maybe
And,
I'll call.
it
and
might
ask.
be a good phone call to RVAR just to make double sure, because, my thinking is you can go and put one of our listings in Lynchburg on RVAR, and then it's going to go into social media as coming soon.
Right. That's my
So-
concern.
But-
Yeah, I'll call and
but-
ask.
But if it's not on LAR, that's where I'm kind of like, where's that fine line that you're going to get somebody going?
Yeah, when they started the whole 24-hour, I just started doing 24-hour for everything. But I will check on that. Thank you.
Yep. So, we pretty much went through the scripts. I think we're early, but does anyone have any questions? And, the main thing is, I just want to ask you guys, does anyone want to share any objections or situations that you're coming up with? And, how you're, do you have any questions on how to handle something? We have a great group here and, I'm sure we'll have people that can help.
I have a question about a lead that comes in at late hours of the night. I'm here, I'm awake, I see it. And obviously the people on the other end are, online and it's 11 o'clock at night. Do we call them? Do we send them a text? Do we call them in the morning? What are your thoughts?
I respond immediately. And
With a
that,
phone call?
no, typically I'll send them a text or an email and say, would you like to talk?
Okay.
Just to make sure. And the reason why is some people work shift work and some people work weird hours and some people's daytime might be 11 o'clock at night. I know what you're saying. Like we get them weird, and I always respond to them. And a lot of times I'll just get on a good texting thing. Somebody might be at home with a baby sleeping beside them. So you don't want to, call, but I do respond. And I feel like because the faster you respond, the better it is. Because if you wait until morning, they might be on shift work and then they're gone.
Yeah. I responded by somebody that way via text. It was like 10:15 at night. And I introduced myself, said, I understand you were looking for information for, property XYZ. I'm happy to help. Is it too late to talk now, or is morning better for you? And she replied back right away and said, morning is better. I have 4 kids pretending to be asleep. I thought that was pretty funny.
Exactly.
And then I reached out to her in the morning and then I could never connect with her. So
I know
that's why I was.
Yeah, I'd say just keep trying. I don't think she was offended at all. I mean, you know how it is. Like, when you have little kids, hey, I'm learning because I've had Isaiah for a little bit. When you have little kids, like it is weird. Like, by the time they go to bed is when that's a mom's time, to get on and start surfing something. So I would say, I don't think you offended her. I'd just stay on her because again, she might just be, if she's got 4 kids, who knows what her life's like.
Yeah.
And if she responded on a certain house, maybe set her up on and start sending her some houses similar to the one that she inquired about.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, you guys, we didn't have it in person, but, due to this nice outbreak of COVID that we've had, I guess we all need to take it easy. And, anyone else have any questions? If not, we will happy selling. And y'all do me a favor, take next week and set up some stuff that's on here and just try it. Get out there and give it a shot. And when Christine had mentioned doing the buddy system, sometimes it is nice. Joelle, you and Kate do this sometimes. If you're going to go out and door knock, it sometimes it doesn't feel as stressful if you go together and then one person goes to one house and one person goes to another and you kind of do it that way. And then you're like, okay, we're just going to, we're going to co-list anything that we get, because it just makes you, and it makes you feel a little safer too, because you're going out to individual houses. And you can just kind of go out together and just know you're going to share whatever you get out of it. But, do it and, get that calendar full, because if your calendar's not full, then you're not working towards your future and what you can do, because I know you can do it. All of us can. Kathy, do you have any questions? I'm calling on you just because because I always get to see you in my class and I don't get to see you today. We can't hear.
But good stuff.
Thank you. You guys enjoy your day, and let's make 2022 a great one. If y'all could do me a favor, I would love it if you have certain things that you have interest in that you would like for us to go over. Even if it's hands-on trying to figure out how to do auto prospecting or, how to do a CMA or anything like that. Reach out to Shalaya and let her know the topics that you guys are struggling with or anything you have interest in. And I'd love to add that to our list.
Since we're a little early, can I just ask Shalaya something that I haven't followed up on for the group? I think the group will want to know too.
Yes, ma'am.
We got an email a while back, probably a week or two, about if we were previously using the app, forget what it's called, Shalaya, the one that does your contacts into command. You said if we used it before, then some things have changed and get in touch.
Are you talking about PieSync?
Yes, PieSync. Thank you.
Yeah, so pretty much PieSync is not a thing anymore. So they're no longer syncing if that's something you had set up.
Oh, okay.
API
So how are we
Nation took that over, so you can sign up for API Nation. And
What
each
nation?
platform, API Nation,
Okay,
each platform is its own sync. You can choose one platform to sync for free for a year if you sign up by April 1st.
by when?
By April 1st, you get one
Okay.
platform sync for free. And that can be Google Contacts, iCloud Contacts. There's a bunch of different contact options to choose from.
Okay,
Well, this
wonderful.
sounds like a class for Shalaya.
Yes, it does.
Hey, if it went over everybody's head, don't feel bad because it looks like we need to have a Shalaya class to show us how to do it.
Well, and that's not necessarily something you set up unless you've gone through the work to clean your database up, because otherwise it's going to be junk. And the sync is a little more strict than PySync was. You have to have email addresses in there for it to sync, otherwise it's not going to sync them.
Which is
Wow.
probably a good thing. I mean, because, you know, the email is how we do it. So are you saying, Shalaya, like if somebody wanted to sync over their phone database?
Right. So depending on whether they have Gmail or if they use iCloud, each is a separate sync, but there are guidelines to what has to be in that contact for it to sync over.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. So that's really almost not worth it because you're just going to be able to do the ones that have the same type of emails.
Unless you have thousands and thousands of them, it's probably easier to just put them in manually like you do.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Yeah, because I mean,
That way,
so
you know,
many
it's
people.
clean, you can tag it the way you want and it doesn't get lost in your contacts.
Okay.
You know, it's like with me, like, you know, I had so many that they merged them all in and they weren't organized, you know, so it is easier if you don't have a ton of them. Yet, if, you know, like Vanessa, for instance, with you, like you were in the PTA, like if you had all those people in your phone, you know, from school or whatever, I mean, those would be something that would be nice to sync over into Command, you know, if you, it just, it's your sphere, like, you know, no matter what you did for a living or what you did in your past life of real estate, it's nice to merge your sphere in there. But
Yes.
if you fix it all on your phone before it merges over, it doesn't get as confusing when it gets in there. Just like, you know, like with you, Lisa, you had all those different things that you did, and then you were, you know, working in Bedford County. There's a lot of people in there that would be nice to merge over, you know, into your, you know, Command. So that's where, if you have these questions on it, you know, just ask Shalaya how to do it. Don't ask me. You will not get a good answer. Go to Shalaya. She knows how to do it. And the other thing too, if you have not downloaded your new Command app, the Command app is awesome. I think the app is easier to use than going on your computer. And if you don't know what that is,
It's really good.
oh my gosh. And if y'all, does anyone here not have it where you need Shalaya to forward over that link?
I haven't.
It is so cool. Like, oh my gosh, like you can actually go in there and do stuff. Remember, you know, like Kelly, you can't get into stuff because you have to go, you know, around the world to get to it. That Command, that thing is just up there whenever you go into
As soon
it.
as you log into it, you can see your leads, your tasks, everything.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is amazing. Like,
So
it's
Shalaya, can you send the link to us?
Well, if you go to your app store, it's literally just KW Command.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thanks. I'm doing that now.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's really, really nice. And so anything else you guys have that you have questions on? Y'all enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe
Thank
out
you.
there. Don't get sick. Everybody's got the flu, COVID, or whatever,
It's
stomach
gonna
bug.
snow again tonight.
Again, man, again.
Yeah, and I have 2 lake appointments tomorrow.
No, I had to back all my Monday appointments up to this weekend, and now I'm in quarantine and it's gonna snow again.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. I'm
You
probably
guys
going
do-
to try it anyway.
Yep, go do it anyway. Get over there.
If they don't cancel on me,
Krista.
I'm gonna do it.
Happy 2022, you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Everyone.
Shalaya, stay on for just a second.
Okay.